Well, again, welcome to Metalerium Pages, Jonas.
Thank you.
And of course, it is a pleasure to talk with you about your band, of course, and this last album that you're releasing today, and other things, of course. So, first of all, we would like to know how have you been? Actually, how are you? How is the situation in your country? Because I know it has been difficult times, especially for musicians, due to the pandemic.
Mm. Yeah, well, it's right now it's actually starting to open up and go back to normal here in Sweden. But and we've been kind of fortunate that it hasn't been as much of a lockdown as in other countries. So we have been able to go to work and hang out with friends. I mean, we were able to record the album by visiting each other's home studios, and but we haven't been able to play any sort of live music. It's been, some sort of short-lived periods where we could play at one gig or something, and then it closed down again. So so it's been hard, but for hopefully it will be better now from now on.
Okay, well, this is actually our first interview with you
Mhm.
here for people in Latin America. So, do you mind, actually, if you tell us a little bit about your background as musician, of course, and then a little bit of the story of your band now?
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I can tell my story first. I've been playing music since I was a little kid. I started playing piano in school and then moved on to bass at a later age, and studying at different universities. And after that, I moved down to Stockholm to pursue a career as a musician. So, and that's what I'm doing now. So I'm come from a Swedish folk music background actually, and but now I'm playing all styles available almost. So that's really fun, and I've always been into progressive rock music, since I found out about it, and the music I write tend to end up in a progressive rock sort of area mostly, and I in 2012 I started the other side sort of as an outlet for that music,
Hmm.
because I wasn't in any band that played progressive rock. So I figured, well, I can start my own project then and ask a few friends if they want to play on the record and put that out, and started doing some live shows. So, and it's the lineup is growing ever since. So we're more and more people involved all the time, which is fun.
Okay, awesome. And of course, now today, actually, February the 18th, you're releasing Miles from Nowhere. In this case,
Yeah.
this is your second album, if I am not wrong.
Mm.
So, well, you told us a little bit about the experience of composing and recording the album during this pandemic situation. Probably
Mm.
you didn't face much restrictions, but in your personal opinion, how was the experience? Actually, did it change much composing and recording an album now comparing to what you were doing before this pandemic began? Did it change something?
Not really. What changed is actually that I had more time to
Hmm.
work on it, So I'm actually glad that I started making the album before the pandemic came. So, but we didn't finish. So when that happened, I was fortunate that it wasn't finished. So I actually had something to do. So, but then the recordings process didn't change much. We always used to do that, go to each other's home studios and record. So we've done that with earlier albums as well. Uh, and the music too was written before the pandemic. So
Oh, I see.
it's sort of partly made during the pandemic and partly before. So
Okay, that's interesting.
mm.
And of course, in terms of sounds, maybe and lyrics, can you tell us a little bit about the inspirations and the sounds on this new album, comparing to the previous one? Actually, what can the fans expect actually from the album?
I think they can expect from this album it's much more symphonic, like it's got more epics. It's 3 epics on there, and a lot of more, I think, keyboard soundscapes in a way. There's 2 intros that's very similar to Shine On You Crazy Diamonds, inspired by that. And also, I've been inspired much by Spock's Beard and Flower Kings and Transatlantic and those kinds of prog bands.
Nice.
So it's sort of a mixture of pop, rock, and symphonic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's something that I like, and yes, I was gonna mention that on my next questions. Of course, I noticed that some songs can be quite long, but
Mm,
incredible catchy at some points between all these sounds, and I also
mm,
like the sound actually of the keyboard. It's something that keeps you attached, interested in the song, which is actually interesting. In these times it can be quite difficult because people like everything fast and short, but these long songs, it actually works. So
mm.
how do you work in order to keep this balance? This balance, is this something that you plan, or is this something that just came up naturally to make the songs like this long and with these melodies?
I wouldn't say I planned on that they would become long. It
Hmm.
is something that just happened. Like you start off with an idea and then it builds into another idea, and sometimes the song becomes short and sometimes it grows into a long piece. So, uh, but I think it's to me it's important to when I listen back to my own songs that I can feel the music flowing all the time. So it doesn't if I listen back to it and feel like, well, this part is boring or this doesn't fit there, then I get rid of it. So I sort of go I base it in like what would I like to hear, as a fan of the genre. So that's really my view on it.
Yeah, yeah, I understand. Well, I was also going to ask if you think that maybe it could be quite risky, to make things like that during these times, especially because uh, something that I always like to talk about about this with some friends is that nowadays people focus more on singles than complete albums, and they
Mm,
don't probably spend too much time on listening to album. There's too much
mm,
distraction. Sometimes we don't disconnect from the rest and take the time to enjoy the journey
mm.
of the musical journey that an album offers us nowadays. So, in your
Yeah.
opinion, what do you think that we can do maybe in order to change a little bit this situation, to promote listening full albums again?
I think I wouldn't say for sure, but I think it's maybe a matter of how the music is being promoted these days. Everything it's supposed to be fast, with Facebook and Instagram and short snippets everywhere. Uh, so that I think many of the kids growing up today doesn't know that there used to be albums that you listen to. So I think it's if you just started promoting that, then it would be a good thing. And I think Inside Out music is great because they promote albums rather than singles, which I think
Hmm.
it is really good, and sort of get it out there to inspire more people to actually make albums. That's what I think.
Okay. And yeah, I was gonna ask also that about that. They are now working with Inside Out. Yeah,
Mm,
it is clearly, as you said, that they normally promote more the albums, and of course, they always. Well, we know this label because they always have very interesting bands,
mm.
especially in the progressive rock scene. So how's you been your experience until now working with this label? How are you feeling? And actually, how did you get in contact with them for this release?
Well, first of all, it's great to be get to work with them, because I have well, I mentioned a lot of bands earlier that I listen to, and they're all on Inside Out. So I've been kind of wanting to be released on Inside Out for a long time. Uh, since that would be really cool. And it's great to be on that platform, you know, along these all these great acts. You know, I'm very humble. Uh, and the thing that happened was that I set out to release this album in November, actually independently first.
Hmm.
So I released a couple of singles, and then I got a hold of a guy at the Prog Report called Roy Avin, who asked me if I had somebody helping out with promotion, and I said, no, you go ahead. So he started sending the stuff out, and then he sent one of the copies to Thomas Waber at Inside Out, who wrote me back on my birthday, really, actually, saying that we have a release window in February. Do you want to work with us? So that's how that came about, you know.
Oh.
So it was really sort of an inside an inside thing. So that was really cool.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's something actually that I like. You know, there are good things and bad things in terms if we talk about technology and digital platforms, but in this case, it seems that it helped you a lot, you know.
Yeah.
It gave you the access to a wider audience. Someone
Mm.
probably saw you,
Yeah.
and of course, you had this chance actually.
Mm.
But on the other side, don't you think that it can be also quite difficult when we talk about competition? You know, there are a lot of bands, too
Yeah.
many sometimes. We get access to thousands of bands.
Mm.
So, what's your opinion about that? And actually, how can you work as musicians, you know, to make a difference between all these bands that are coming actually through digital
Yeah.
platforms?
I don't know. I think it's a matter of just keep on doing what you do, you know. As long as I like what I'm doing, then hopefully people will like it too, and it will stand out. Since you know, I already have some sort of a sound going on, and I don't know if it's that many bands that actually make the music that Spock's and Flower Kings and those bands makes. It tends to be more towards metal
Hmm.
mostly in progressive. So, and I don't think it's that common for a relatively young artist to be doing that kind of music. So I don't know, uh, but just do the music that you think is great. That's what I believe.
Ah, okay.
Mm.
And well, you also mentioned that between all the bands that you really like and inspire you, we had the Flower Skins, for example. And I saw that you also had a chance to work with Rolling Stone.
Mm.
And if I'm not wrong, I guess I saw on your Facebook page that you're also going to collaborate with him on his next album, actually. So,
Mm.
can you tell us a little bit more about this experience, actually?
Yeah, that was like a dream come true, really. I had a solo at the Epic on my album where I thought it would be very cool to feature a guest musician that is a big influence on mine. And I thought of Roy Stolt because of the Flower Kings and his guitar playing, and that would be perfect for that, you know, spot.
Hmm.
So I actually sent him a message on Facebook and asked if he wanted to do it, and of course he replied yes, you know. And why don't we exchange services? So I can play on your song and you can play on mine. So he
Wow.
said we have a Flower Kings album coming out and one song doesn't have any bass on it. So do you want to play? And I was like, yes, of course. You know, of course I want to do that. So and that song was released yesterday as a single.
Ah,
So
I see.
that was really cool. I
All
got to be
right.
in the video and everything.
Wow, that sounds awesome. Of course, yeah,
Mm.
as you said, it's a dream that is that came true, which is
Mm.
cool. And of course, now you're releasing the album today. Uh, what are the plans actually for the future for you? Are there chances actually for you to go on a tour now? Are you planning maybe to do something else? You know, there are a lot of bands now that are, for example, taking the option of making also streaming events or things like that. So I
Mm.
don't know. What are your plans?
I have some loose plans right now because I've sort of been waiting on getting the ball rolling for live gigs due to the pandemic, you know.
Hmm.
But now as things are opening up, I have some plans for doing a release concert here in Stockholm at some point, but it's not clear when.
Hmm.
And then I'm also very open to, you know, like offers coming in. So we will see if we start getting offers and the opportunity to play live. That would be really great. And I'm also working on new music, some new songs, since this album has been in the making for so long. So it's actually time to do something fresh, at least for me. I've been listening to this album for 3 years now, uh, so hopefully that will end up on a future album as well. And we will see if we do any kind of streaming or whatever we, we come up with.
Okay.
Mm.
And well, you already mentioned some of the bands that influenced you, but well, I'm also very interested in your case as a musician, as a professional musician. I know that you like to compose and record your music, and of course that takes a lot of time. But do you still have time to listen to music? I mean, do you listen to young bands or modern bands? Maybe in the progressive rock styles or other kind of music? Do you still have time to do that?
Yeah, it's sort of depending on how much work you have at the moment. I mean, if you're too much into touring or whatever, when you have a quiet moment, it's not the first thing. It's not you think about is not listening to an album. But that's one of my favorite things to do is to listen to music. So I mean, I was listening to a lot of. I listened to the new Transatlantic albums, for instance, when I was mixing the album. So just to hear something else. And I also I listen to a lot of Swedish folk music and a lot of bluegrass and other kinds of music as well. So whenever I have a quiet, so, you know, there's not too much going on, then it's always nice to just lean back and listen to stuff, whatever that might be. Uh,
Okay.
and
Okay.
also, I think it's important for me. It's important if I'm on a tour playing a rock, then I always tend to listen to something completely different when I'm listening to music, just to, you know, clear my head. So to get the contrast.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's very very interesting. And
Mm.
of course, we are a media from Latin America actually. Have you had a chance probably to listen to some music from this part of the world?
Yeah, isn't Angra from South America somewhere? I don't know
Okay.
which country that was.
Brazil.
Yeah,
Angra.
Brazil.
Yeah.
Angra, yeah. So that's one of the bands that I know from there.
Yeah, yeah, they are very big, of course,
Oh.
in the whole scene in
Mm,
general. But yeah, that's a really really cool band. Actually, it's one of
mm,
my favorite ones. But it's more metal style, actually. Yeah.
mm, yeah. But
Okay.
I think it's fun that they incorporate a lot of other, you know, classical and folk elements as well. So it's not only metal. It's more like it's like a mixture. They're kind of progressive in a way.
Yeah, that's very interesting. It's a way to develop your own sound. In this case, they
Mm,
began by using their folk music and adapted to their metal
mm,
style. And that's their brand. Probably some bands came
mm,
later, but it's we all know Angra because of
mm,
this cool sound.
mm.
Uh, all right. And well, before we finish actually with this interview, is there anything that you would like to say to people in Latin America that are starting to listen to your music or probably fans that you already have in this part of the world?
Yeah, well, I do hope you will enjoy the album and you know, stay safe and hopefully we will get to go there and play for you sometime.
Yeah, sure. Why not? We really hope that. And of course, again, we really appreciate your time. Thanks a lot for that, and congratulations for this second
Thank
album.
you.
Actually,
Thank
uh,
you. My pleasure.
we really enjoy actually, and we already posted a review in our
Oh yeah.
website. Yeah, we really like it a lot.